Greetings, I'm Leslie and I'm Madula. For my part, I will be explaining to you our toy class, which we use to instantiate our toy objects. First things first, as you can see, we have our class fields for our objects attributes. These are based on our professor's very detailed instruction. As you can see here on the slide, it says that you have been hired by a toy collector to create a program for managing his collection. Each toy in the collection has several key attributes: a unique ID, hence we have an integer toy ID, a name, we have here string toy name, a condition that can be either new, used, or refurbished. Here we have string toy condition. Other important details include the manufacturer, the size, and the weight in grams. Now you may have noticed that we had used string to declare the data type for our toy size. Why is it so? Well, as you can see, our professor gave us a format on how the size should look like. So the idea that I got is we should ask the user separately for different dimensions such as height, width, and depth. And we're gonna use another variable to store the formatted string using the the height, width, and depth that we had asked from the user. Hence why we use string to declare the toy size. It's for the format. The program should also track whether the toy is battery operated. That's why we have Boolean here. If it has some features and any interactive features it might have, such as voice recognition or touch sensitivity. And lastly, we have string toy features for our class attribute. Now, below the class field, we have the public constructor. In the constructor, as you may have noticed, we did not use a default constructor. So in the main class, we have to ask the user for each of these values in the parameter so that it would be stored in the constructor or in the object, and hence we could use it for the output or the program. And after that, we use the get method. Now, why would we use a get method when we have a public constructor? Well, for the get method, this is actually necessary for our program because we are tasked to do a search by ID, by name, and by condition. So by doing that, to do that, we have to use a get method to get the values in the object instead of using the constructor, because it would literally be because they are initialized to private. We can use these public methods to get the values of the attribute. And lastly, for the toy class, we have the display method. I don't know what to explain in this one because it's just display. We recall it to the main method or the main class to display what was inputted by the user. And that's all for me. Thank you.
Greetings everyone again. My name is Mark Justin Ozona, and I am tasked now to explain to you the main method, starting the very first line of the code up to the first case of our selection menu. So our project is all about creating a toy management system that is responsible for adding a new toy, remove a toy by ID, display all toys within the list, search a toy by a specific name from user input, and display toy by a selected condition. So I will explain to you the very first line of the code up to the first menu, which is add a new toy. Okay, so the first line of the code is all about package research project. So it is the name of the package we have created. So package is like a storage of all the classes with that will be used in this project. So in this case, we have two kinds of classes. We have the main class and then the toy class, which is responsible for the object creation. So this next three lines of code that I'll be highlighted, so these are the imports from Java.utility package. So again, package is like just a container of classes. So we access the scanner class from the Java.utility package. So scanner is responsible for user input. It is the recipient of integer, strings, etc., etc. Then the Java.utility.ArrayList is responsible for importing it so that we can use array list in this project. Then next or last import is the java.utility.input mismatch exception. So exception in elaboration to you, sometimes when user accidentally input a word, a letter or character within an integer scanner, so it will present an input mismatch exception. So the code is asking for an integer, but the user inputs a character or string. So it is a kind of mismatch exception. So we will handle that using try-catch method that will be explained to you by my colleague. So this has a public class main. Public is an access modifier referring this class is accessible to the entire package. Then we have initialize or instantiate a static scanner so that it will be accessible for the entire class of main class. Then we have here the public static void main, which refers to the main method of this program. So now we will go to this line array list. So it is the syntax in creating, instantiating an array list. So it has a parameter of object. So this, what you see here, which has a greater than and less than sign. So in the middle of that is the class or class object that will be used. And then the name of that array list is toys. And then the new is responsible for an object instantiation. So now, let's proceed to the first selection of the main menu, which has a very great user interface here, created by my groupmate. So we have initialized a Boolean loop for the entire selection of main menu so that it will not be terminated unless the user select the number 6 for exit. So now, the first thing and foremost in creating or adding a new toy, so let us jump in here in the first case. So switch case, it is just like a multiple of if-else statement. So choice, it has a parameter which has received the user input or what the user will be selected in the entire main menu. So the first case is to add a new toy. So when adding a new toy according to the project, so we have to input the unique ID. When we say unique, it should not be repeated. So we should have an input for name and also the brand or the creator or the company that created that toy. We also must have a size, weight, and also some kinds of attributes or condition that will be represented later on. So now we have initialized an integer toy ID. So this ID is very unique. So it is inside a while loop that has a parameter of true. So it goes on until a condition is met within or inside this loop. So adding a new toy, first we will ask the user enter a toy ID. So when we say toy ID, it is an integer. So 2001, 1, 2, 3, 4, those are unique ID that will be used in our project. So now, toy ID is the, we have initialized a while ago. So we have here a method is valid input. So this method will be elaborated to you by my group mate, but it is responsible for checking whether the input of the user is valid that uses a try-catch method inside a do-while. So we will dive into that later. So next we have the scanner that next line. So you might ask me, MJ, why is it important to input a scanner that next line after asking a integer value from the user? So technically in Java, when you're asking or prompting an integer value, it just read the integer but not the entire line. So we should use a scanner that next line in order to consume the next line for next input value from the user. So this if else statement is just checking if the toy ID exists. So if yes, then it will terminate the program showing a message that will be presented to you later when this method is explained. So next, after the toy ID, we have the name. So name, we know it is a string. And in Java, when it is a string, it is a combination of characters. So it must be a word, phrase, etc., etc. So now we have input the toy name inside the while that is a parameter of true. So it goes on until the condition is met. So we ask the user, what toy name should you input? So now you might ask me, MJ, why isn't there another scanner that next line? So again, the scanner that next line reads the entire line. So we shouldn't use a double scanner that next line for this case. Next, we have here an if else statement. If the toy name is not empty. So if it has a if it is available to input a toy name, then this will goes on, or this code will go on. The name will be inputted. But we have here an else statement. If the toy, sorry, if the toy name which is inputted by the user is empty, so it will give an error message. Toy name cannot be empty. Please enter a valid. So again, sorry, I've been confused. But this if else statement is responsible for checking the input of the user. So sometimes the user accidentally enters it without inputting a value or correct valid name. So this error will be represented in order to guide the user back in inputting a valid name. So next, we have here integer condition and string toy condition initialized value for this selection that we have inputted in a do while loop. So we have here a very, very great user interface. Now we will ask the user what condition will you choose, or your toy, is it a new toy? Is it a used toy? Or is it a refurbished toy? Now this code is a great readable code and usable by the user because you will just input a number instead of the word new, used, or refurbished. So now, condition, again, this method will be explained later, is valid input, is asking for an integer. So we have to add a scanner that next line so that the entire line will be consumed. Now we use again a switch condition referring to a multiple of if case or if else statement. So the first case, or number one, when the user select number one, so the toy condition we have initialized as empty will have a value of new. So this goes on to use and refurbished, right? So if the user input a invalid selection, or when the user input number 4, this error will be presented. So also the do while has a condition if the selection is less than or equals to 0, or condition is greater than 3. So right, we are done in the condition. Now we have the string toy manufacturers, or what company does that toy being manufactured. So again, while loop is responsible to check the user input. So we will not elaborate on that, because those methods will be explained later. So next, we have asked the user to enter the toy size. So this one is a little bit complicated because on the first place, it has the size has a specific height, width, and depth. And also, this should have an X or multiplication symbol in every sizes or measurement that the user will be inputted. So now we will ask the user the amount of height, width, and then the depth. So this method will be explained later. Again, is valid input. So we are all right. And the size. Next is the system out. Enter toy weight in grams. So the enter toy weight is valid input method in order to check whether the inputted value is correct depending on this method that will be explained to you later. So these are just an input value. So this one is a very great UI also. We will ask the user, is that toy battery operated? So when the user's input number 1, so it means yes, then 2 is no. So how do we do that? So in this statement of if else case or if else statement. So now we have another method here is or validate yes or no. That has a parameter of scanner. So it will be explained later. So it is the same in asking is the toy has a sound features. So we know that. No. So next is the add toy feature. This is an open paragraph for user whether that toy has an extra feature such as it can sing, it can dance, it can calculate mathematical expression, etc., etc. So now we have come to this last part of this case number 1. So it is a very, very long explanation, but I will explain it to you. So it is toys referring to the we have here the object toys, which is the array list that we have created. So this is the toys that we are calling in this line. Dot add. So dot add is a what do we call this? It is a method within the array list class that adds a object in the list. So we have here used the shortcut in instantiating or adding a new toy and a list. So we have here the word new, then toy as an object. So our toy class that explained a while ago has a lot of parameters. So these are the prompting from the user a while ago. We have the toy ID, toy name, toy condition, etc. until the last parameter that will be sent by this method to the toy class in this project that we have created. And last, we have used this statement to indicate that this toy is added on the list, and then the break is responsible so that the switch case will not loop or will not exceed, or it is the limiter of this first case. So I think that's all for this case 1, and thank you very much for listening. So next presenter will be responsible for case 2. Thank you so much and God bless.
So for the case 2, it is when the user inputted number 2, which is to remove a toy by using ID. So in the first line in case 2, there is a if else condition. So in the if condition, the toys that is empty. So it will check if the list is empty or if there is something to remove. And then if there is none, it will print no toys in the collection yet. So in the else condition, if there is an element in the collection, it will prompt the user to enter the toy ID that the user wanted to be removed. It will store it in the toy remove input valid scanner, and it will get validated the integer input. And then scanner that next line, it is to clear the input buffer. So it will check if it is found by using the boolean found equals false. So it will check if the toy is found. And then next here is a loop. So it will loop through the list to find the ID to match the user input. So we have this the for loop. So if the toys that get I that get toy ID equals toy remove, so it will this check for the matching ID. And then the next line is system.out.print the toy plus toy get I that get toy name. So this purpose is to show what toy of that ID input is removed. So it is showing the user that the toy is successfully removed from the collection. So next is the toy that removed. So it removed the toy and then found equals true and then break. So the break purpose is to stop the loop after the removal. If it's not found, so if there is no matching toy that is found, it will print the toy ID with the user inputted value, saying not found, or it will show that the user input ID was not found in the collection.
So, Tangal greetings. I am Chelsea Urbina, and I'm going to explain this part of our code displaying all toys. So, in the case 3, so we see here that there is an if-else condition. So, let me explain to you how we retrieve all the elements in the object array list to view all the items. So, if toys.empty, so let us focus on this first. So, this is empty is a built-in function in the array list. It means that we are checking if there is an element found in the toys object. And if it does not have, then it will print this. So no toys in the collection yet. If it does have it, or if it detected that it does have an element, then it will traverse through the elements in the object or in our array lists. So inside the block code inside the for loop, we see that we are getting the index, or we are accessing the index of every element in the array list, and then we are calling this function display toys in our toy.java. So in every index that we have access, we are displaying every elements inside the toys object. So that's it. It's simple. Now, for as an example, in viewing all the toys in our array list, so let us execute our program. So we are going to add a new toy. So the toy ID is 1. The toy name, if for example, is Dolly. In our toy condition, we pick new. In our toy manufacturer, we pick playtime go. So in our toy size, so our height is 30, 40, our width is 40, our depth is 56, for example. So the weight of it is, for example, 60. Is the toy battery operated? Yes, we want it to be operated. toy feature is yes. Another toy features is, for example, sound recognition. Okay, so let us now pick the command display all toys. So this is an example. So it is now displaying our table of every details in every object. So that's it.
Good day everyone, I'm Rani Rio Maloles and now I will explain the case 4, which is the search toy by name in our program. This feature allows users to search for a specific toy in the collection by entering its name. It ensures that users can quickly check if a toy exists in the list and view its details if found. So let's go through the logic step by step. First is checking if the list is empty. Before performing a search, the program first verifies whether the toy collection contains any items. It does this by checking if the list toy is empty using the isEmpty method. If there are no toys, the program immediately displays the message "No toys in the collection yet." Since there is nothing to search for, the program skips further executions and returns to the main menu. So step 2 is asking for user input. If the collection is not empty, the program proceeds to ask the user for input. It prompts enter toy name to search. The user then types the name of the toy they want to find. The input is stored in the variable toy search using scanner.nextSlide. This allows the program to compare the input with the names of the toys stored in the collection. Step 3 is searching for the toy. Once the user enters a toy name, the program starts searching by looping through the toy list using a for loop. Each toy name is retrieved using toy.getToy name. The program then compares the stored name with the user input using equals ignore case toy search. This method ensures that the comparison ignore case differences teddy bear and teddy bear will treated as the same. So a boolean variable found is used to track whether a match is found. If a match is found, the toy details are displayed using display toy method. Step 4 is displaying the result. If the program finds a match, it displays the details of the toy using the display toys method. This method might include information such as the toy name, type, price, and the other relevant attributes. If no match is found, the program prints the toy name is not in the toy list. This ensures that the user receives a clear response when searching for a toy that does not exist in the collection. The last step is ending the case. After completing the search process, the program exits the case 4 and returns to the main menu. This allows the user to perform other actions such as adding new toys, updating details, or searching again. The search toy by name feature is a helpful tool that enables users to quickly find a toy by simply entering its name. If the toy exists, its details are displayed. If it doesn't exist, the user is informed. These features make the toy collection system more user-friendly and efficient. So that's conclude my explanation for case 4 search by name.
Hello, I'm Erob Irabon and I will explain to you the case 5 of the switch statement used in this program. So, in this case 5, it will display the toy based on its condition, whether what type of condition did the user intended to display. So, case 5, we use here an if-else statement. So it will check if the list is empty. So we use the method isEmpty to check whether the list has already been um, added by a toy collection. So if there is no toys on the list, it will prompt the user that there are no toys in the collection yet. Else, it will print out the menu of condition. So we have here three choices. So one for new, two for used, and three for refurbished. So it will prompt the user to select a toy condition they would like to display. And the program goes through the list of toys. Then it will check each one on the list to see if its condition matches to the user input. So if a match is found, so the details of the toys of that specific toy will be displayed. So it is used to track whether at least one or more toy meets the condition that the user inputted. And if there's no matching toys found on the list, so the program will prompt the user that there is no toys with that condition exist on the list or on the collection. So after completing the search, so this program will continue to the next step.
Okay, good day to our dear viewers. So I'm going to tell you about some of the codes or the ending codes of this program, which is the toy managing system. So this program is showing the user what kind of toys or how they want their toys. Yes. And okay. Let me just get straight to the point. I'll be explaining the case 6 of the code, which is the displaying of thank you message to the user and the invalid input message to the user. This code is important as the functions or as the points for readability of your program. Without this type of warnings, your code will be, let's say, bland and unresponsive since you are not connecting to the users. Next line will be this. The public static valid input. Here till here. Okay. This Java code snippet continuously prompts the user for a positive integer handling and non-integer input and values less than or equal to, let's say, less than or equal to 0 with error messages returning the valid integer once entered. So this line of codes or this set of codes returns the value once entered, once the user entered an input. Next will be this, the public static for toy existing or R list. Okay. This function checks if a user or rather if a toy ID exists in the list. This is important to check if the user input a toy ID that's already in the list. So if it's not on the list, then it will return false, which a user can add another toy ID in the list. But if the toy ID is already existing in the list, it will display an error message, which is the error ID already exists. Please enter a unique ID. So there will be no conflict to the ID of the toys. While this, the public static for validating, which is the yes or no. So this Java code provides input validation functions to ensure positive integer input and unique toy IDs. And this display a yes or no responses, enhancing program readability and user experience. So that will be all for my part for this program, and I am sure that by doing this kind of program helps us to, let's say, nourish and grow our knowledge about object oriented programming. So that will be all for my part. Thank you.